Hey everybody, welcome to Pete and Andy Talk Ski on Your TV. This week we are continuing our X Games preview series, but this time we are going to talk about halfpipe. We're going to talk about who's hot, who's not, historically who's done well at X Games. We're also going to introduce you to our new correspondent who's going to help us out at X Games, which I'm particularly excited about. We're going to check in on recent X Games news, like X Games, you good? Like they've had a lot of stuff going on. And we are finally going to give our podium predictions for halfpipe at this year's X Games. But first, Pete, we have huge news.
Big news, like really big news. And this is what I do every night before I go to bed is I go to the X Games website and I click through all the ski events just to see if anything's changed, and something did change.
Really?
And it's the Pacifico men's ski big air list has changed, and there is a new it's a new name on there. His name is Luca Harrington. You might have heard it before on this podcast.
You might have heard the name Luca Harrington if you followed the podcast once or twice. TV show. It's a TV show. It's not a podcast.
TV.
But I feel like my firstborn child got into the X Games. Pete, like I could not be happier to hear that Luca is in, and we can stop complaining about him. We can complain about something else. But I'm stoked.
Yeah, I am too. Big time. I'm stoked for him. I'm also stoked. Like we spent, I don't know how many episodes. I think it's been every single episode.
I think
probably
Luca is sick of us talking about Luca. But
I think he is. So this, for at least for right now, is like our last Luca announcement. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that somebody had tuned in and was like, boy, these guys are right. He needs a spot. We've got to put him in.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. Yeah, positive.
I hope so. But anyways, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats,
X Games.
Brother.
It's awesome.
Brother, we did it. We did it. It was teamwork, we all cried a little bit, blood, sweat, and tears, but it worked out. All right. So should we actually talk about X Games halfpipe now?
Yeah, let's go to halfpipes.
All right, Pete. So here is my big question for you. Has there ever been a skier that is more of a favorite in a men's discipline than Alex Ferreira is right now in halfpipe?
That's tough. There, in the past we had runs with like Tanner Hall and Simon, right? And those were the best of times, right?
Right.
But at one singular standout, like I don't know if anybody really compares to where he's at right now. Yeah. I think he is like the number one standing alone on top of a cliff favorite for X Games. I also heard that he pays the pipe cutter, to cut like certain hits just right, because it's like my hometown event,
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they have something worked out maybe. But yeah, I don't know. He's kind of in a league of his own right now, is my opinion.
Like Dumont always had Tanner, when David Wise was on his big run, he always had Torin, Roland, there were other people I feel like, and I don't know if we've ever had, someone that was quite, on the male side, obviously Eileen on the women's side is obviously also a huge favorite, but on the men's side, it is tough to find a time. And I mean any event, whether it be slope, like big air, I don't see it. I think Alex is the heavy favorite. We learned that Nico is probably not competing at X Games this year. So like who, there's a lot of really good skiers out there, really good ones. But I mean, if Alex just puts his rundown from last year, I think it's unbeatable.
I think so too. There's the hometown advantage too. Like, he loves to compete there, and when it doesn't go his way, which has happened in the past, right?
Yep.
It's like tough for him, for sure. So we obviously know this is like an event that he's gunning for every single year. He is out there. He is a big favorite. If you put it in the betting odds, and I don't understand how that stuff works, he might be like negative 1,000 or more than that. I don't know.
Yeah, some big number. for a thing
Yeah.
to win
Yeah.
stuff. Did you see his most recent training video? Like he just put it out,
Oh,
whatever. So he
no,
was
I missed that.
he was at Copper working on switch left up 10, which is what he had his win last year, but I don't think he's done it this year. Um, but yeah, I mean, talking about like hot skiers, I mean, again, he is number one. Like, yeah, he had a couple seconds and we were tossing that around a little bit, but he won decisively in Copper.
Yep.
And last year, perfect season. That's pretty hot. That's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that those second places really bothered him that much, right?
Yeah, if
I
they
mean,
did,
where
it's
like
not showing.
if we look at his vision, his eyes are probably on Milan next year, right?
Yep.
And a couple second places, I don't know, heading into X Games after the big win at Copper. Yeah, he's set up to kind of continue to be very, very dominant.
Yeah, and so let's look at so historically speaking, right? The people that have done well that are in the event, you've got most medals is Dave, also most golds is Dave with five, 8 total medals. Next is Gepper, who kind of counts, but kind of doesn't count because a lot of these were in slope style. He's got 6 total medals, 4 gold. But Alex is a lot closer to Dave than I thought. He's 1 medal behind with 7 and 2 golds behind. He's got 3. So like,
Hmm.
I mean, historically speaking, I mean, Alex is right there. Like if he wins, I mean, anything can happen, but if he wins this X Games, man, like we're going to be talking about him like one of the best ever.
For
And
sure. I think he's already in that conversation, right? Especially
yeah,
last year's perfect season.
yeah,
There is a scenario this year where David Wise gets gold medal because he's an invited athlete,
yep,
and then he goes another one up on Alex, and then
true.
we're
Yeah,
gonna have to keep grinding.
Dave won in 2003. Like I forgot about that.
Wow,
Yeah, the old guy
that's
still coming through. But yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's amazing.
not like Dave is skiing bad. He is not skiing bad. He doesn't have, like he doesn't quite have the oomph behind his skiing that he used to. His tricks aren't as big as they used to be, but he's obviously working towards something. And he is the most competitive human being on the planet. So he's not looking to go there to get second place. Like he has a plan to try to win gold. It's just, can that plan come to fruition, Peter?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think you could say that about everybody,
Yeah,
right?
it's a big
They're all
ask.
going there
Yeah.
to go as big as they can,
Yeah.
and try to win. So yeah, that field, you look at that field and it's super competitive, but everybody's got a little something in there.
Yep.
It's gonna be very
I mean,
interesting.
it's like,
I'm excited.
with 8 athletes invited, like looking through the list, every single one of those people can end up on the podium. I mean,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it's every one of those people are heavy hitters. So let me tell you, trying to make a podium prediction was not super easy.
No.
So we need to talk about ladies too. Can anyone beat Eileen? Is she as heavy of a
Mm.
favorite as Alex? What do you think?
She's obviously a heavy favorite. I would say almost more so than Alex, right? Like, when's the last time that she was bumped off of the top spot in a
Yeah.
half pipe event? It's been a second, and her medal count, speaks volumes.
Yep.
However, it's X Games. It's the same situation on the women's side too, where do you think Cassie Sharpe is super hungry right now? I do.
Yeah.
Like,
He's super hungry. I think
yeah,
Zoe
and
has kind of renewed confidence after Copper. I think she did better than she thought, maybe. So, yeah, no, I think, yes, I think Eileen is the heavy favorite, but I think those other ladies are getting very close.
yeah, I think so too. And Hannah, did she pull out of Copper? Is that what happened,
I feel
or
like
did
she
she have
did
a?
like her first qualies run and then
Yeah,
she pulled out. But yeah, yeah, I pretty sure she's healthy for X, and if that's true,
yeah,
she's another one.
for
But
sure.
so
Uh,
this is the way that I see, right? Like Alex, right? A couple seconds and then a win in Copper. Like to me, Alex is coming up. Like he's just getting better as the year has gone on. But to me, like Eileen, like she didn't ski great in Copper, and to me, like her best runs were probably last year, maybe in the year before. So she's kind of been fairly flattish. I mean that sounds crazy to say, but like it would not shock me to see Eileen have a bad day. Like she just doesn't seem like she is firing in an upward trajectory like Alex is. So I think I might be ready to say that Alex is a bigger favorite than Eileen, but I still think Eileen will win. I think she's a heavy favorite, but I just had to put that out there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I see a comparison between Chloe Kim and Eileen. And Chloe had this run on the snowboard side, obviously, where she was winning everything. And it was the same run for year after year after year because nobody was kind of catching up and progressing to that level. And you could maybe say that about Eileen, right?
Yeah.
There's like a kind of a similar scenario going on there too, where it's like, yeah, I've been, just skiing really well, knocking that run out, any condition and any pipe, and taking that top spot. But again, it's like it's X Games, and you don't know what's going to come out. You don't know who's, somebody on that list is starving right now, right?
Yeah.
For
I think there's a lot
the top spot. Yeah, and they've had some time since Copper. It'll be very interesting to see.
I completely agree. Well, so obviously we're going to talk about our podium predictions at the end. So shall we move on? Because we have another fairly big announcement.
Oh yeah, this is two big announcements. Yeah, let's
two
move
big
on.
announcements. So we have a new correspondent, Pete, and this correspondent is going to be with us for X Games, and I think we just let this correspondent speak for themselves.
What is up, party people? It is your favorite washed up and retired halfpipe athlete, Carly Margulies, and I'm here in a beautiful place where the beer flows like wine and the beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of the Capistrano. I'm talking about a beautiful place called Aspen. And I'm here, boots on the ground, to give you guys the inside scoop as to what is going down here in Aspen prior to the X Games. Wow. Hello, my name is Carly, and I am reporting on behalf of Pete and Andy Talk Ski on your TV. And I have a few questions.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it really is. How many X Games events can you name?
None.
Do you guys know where the X Games are happening this year?
X Games.
Never heard of them. Is that? There's an X right there.
I don't know.
Do you guys know if Shaun White has any chance of winning this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and do you guys think that Shaun White has a really good chance to win this year?
I don't know. What is he, 70?
Wasn't he skiing when I was in middle school?
Poor Shaun. Sorry, Shaun.
Those are great answers, thank you. I am, wait, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. This just in! Yo, it's Lindsey Vonn! Out of retirement.
I'll tell you, Pete, I think Carly could be a perfect fit for us and our TV show. I'm actually not sure there is a better human being for this role that she has agreed to. So I'm excited, and I think that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. It's going to be super fun to work with her at this event. She's great. But you said there's no other better correspondent that we could have, and I might disagree, and this isn't a knock on you, Carly. But I was watching this movie and not really watching it. I was kind of falling asleep, and all of a sudden I heard this voice that I recognized, and it was Gus Kenworthy. And it was like 6 seconds in there, and it was like the first Gus spotting I've had in a while. in like the mainstream media because he's all over the place.
I will admit that, yes, having Gus Kenworthy as one of our correspondents would also be hilarious. I completely agree with that. Better than Carly? I don't know, but maybe they're neck and neck. Maybe it's good and even.
Yeah, I guess neck and neck would be fine. It would be really awesome if they did it together as a combo correspondence on the ground, right?
Correspondent.
In a perfect world, that would be like hilarious and amazing. I think those two would work well
Gus,
together.
If you're watching our TV show, you hear this, reach out, bro. We have a spot for you. I'm sure you have
massive
other things going on, but just in case you get bored for a couple days and you want to help out Pete and Andy. That's hilarious. I just got a text message legitimately right now that says Luca Harrington is on the list for X Games. It's what people are just letting us know.
News is out.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Gus will not be at this X Games. Is that correct, Pete?
I don't think so. Again, that alternate list, I can't find it.
That's true. It is
right?
A situation.
So is there a scenario where he's at the very bottom of the alternate list, like just in case, like we're bringing Gus back? Like Andreas is there for street style, right? Why is Gus not
that's
there?
A fair point. So, okay, but serious question. Do you think Gus is going to ski in the next Olympics?
Yeah, why not?
I agree. If I couldn't do it, don't get me wrong, but if I were Gus, I would 1,000% do it. 1,000%.
Sure, and I bring this up a lot still, but there's that North Star training video, and it's him. He's with Bud Keene, and he's hitting jumps, and he's doing half pipe, and it's like, I don't know how long, 40 minutes long of just raw clips. It is like one of the most impressive training videos probably still to date for anybody in two disciplines. So yeah, he's got some muscle memory, I'm sure. He can slide back in there. It's no problem.
Well, and it's like, so, the Olympics that Gus went to, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, right? He did Russia, he did Korea, which is cool, and then he did China. And and the next one in 26 is Milan. Now, Pete, if I just put those 4 cities to you on a menu, countries, whatever, which would you like to go and visit first?
Well, that's tough. I might have a different answer than Gus. The way I would see, if I was to answer for Gus, it would be like a fashion forward answer. Where Milan? Okay, it'd be Milan, right?
I would just want to go to Milan. I'm just like, you've been to Milan, right? I've been there once, I think. It's rad,
Oh, for sure.
The idea of being there as an Olympic athlete, especially a pretty famous Olympic athlete like Gus Kenworthy, I would go in a heartbeat. I understand he's a competitive dude, and he's like, well, I probably can't compete for a podium anymore, but come on, brother, you just gotta go.
I think so. I have to feel like Team GB might be like, okay, we've got a discretion. We have a discretion spot for you.
Other half-pipe skiers, though, Pete.
That's what I'm saying. They could throw him in. He would probably be competitive. And it might lead to some other spots in maybe like an Italian movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Italian TV show. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe some Italian fashion mags, billboards.
Yeah. Maybe he'll leave us a YouTube comment and tell us what he's really thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, highly doubtful, but maybe.
Highly doubtful. I think he still follows me on Instagram. I don't see Gus on Instagram much these days, but maybe eventually. So would you like to talk about some X Games news, Peter?
I would. 'Tis the season.
I don't know if you saw, but I believe this was at some point in December. X Games hired Jeremy Bloom, old friend, as its new CEO.
I did kind of see that, and I was like, boy, that name rings a bell. That's that Molly Bloom's brother, right?
I'm sure he loves being known as Molly's brother. But yes, he was also a mogul skier. did he win an Olympic medal? I don't even know. But the
I
point
don't
is,
know.
he's a skier. So when I saw that he was hired as like X Games CEO, I was like, whoa, like that's cool. He's a skier and he's the X Games CEO now. Like, I don't know how
Yeah.
that can be bad, right? Like, that's cool. I don't know.
I did a little. I just Googled real quick here. 3-time world champion, 2-time Olympian, 11-time World Cup gold medalist. So I mean, that's pretty healthy.
Yeah, no,
Career there.
That's real healthy.
Yeah.
So did you also see that as early as next year, 26, we're going to have an X Games league?
I heard
teams.
I heard some rumblings about that, and I guess I'm on board with it. Try it out. I think that
Yeah.
could be like a cool offshoot of just, your standard event going on. I'm not against it.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% for it either, but
yeah, I want to see what this looks like. So what I read in very small amounts of research is they're going to have 4 teams. It's going to go year long and like incorporate summer and winter and like I'm like, okay, so how are they going to pick teams? You know, like which skateboarder is going to be with Alex Ferreira? You know what I mean? Like how, like, is it going to be countries, continents, energy drink sponsors?
energy drink was where my brain went.
Yeah.
Like Celsius team, Monster team, Red Bull team, Bang Energy. Is that one still? I don't even know.
That's a great question. Yeah, does Little John still have, what is it, Crunk? Does Crunk still exist?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good throwback.
I used to drink that stuff, and it was terrible.
I believe that. I'm glad you're still alive after drinking that.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I like the idea of it going, like winter and summer kind of together, right?
Yeah.
I guess my only concern is like how you keep that kind of congruent. Like, how am I to stay interested in the team event that happened in the winter? And then, 5 months later, I got to log back on and kind of like remember what happened with the team event and like, oh, yeah, like Alex Hall is on this team with Jamie Foy, the skateboarder, whatever.
I think you make a great point there. If there's
that's like hard.
Yeah, if there's no like, because I mean, obviously, right? We're talking about team sports. Like if you're from Boston, you like the Boston sports. Like if you're from LA, you like the LA sports. Like that kind of makes sense. But yeah, how am I gonna get invested in the other sports like I am through the team? Yeah, like it's not like I'm like, woo, Team Red Bull, let's go. Like I like Red Bull is the best energy drink.
Right? Yeah. What's my allegiance? Yeah, there's no allegiance there. I have allegiance to like athletes that I really like to watch. On summer, winter, whatever it may be. But yeah, I am not like Monster Energy's #1 gas station stop every morning.
Maybe you'll become that way, Pete, after X Games League.
We'll see who's on the team.
Yeah,
I'm going to decide. I'm going to see who's on the team first.
That's a great point. Well, so speaking of who's on the team, so they're also talking about, I mean, and this isn't in 26, this is down the road a little bit, but they're also talking about adding some new sports to X Games. Like, okay, sounds interesting. Let me read for you, if I may, a quote from Jeremy Bloom. He said, I mean, I certainly watch the UFC, and I think that's an action sport. And so we're going to be really curious to explore and experiment with opening the aperture a bit, see what could potentially fall into X Games and be described as potentially an action sport. Pete, what do you think about that quote?
Like off the top of my head, that's super odd.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, like even bringing up the UFC to me in the action sport category is a little weird. And then it's like, what is that? It's hard for me to picture what that would look like, right? Like, are we going to have like a Jake Paul fight at the next X Games, like in a ring at the bottom?
Jake Paul going to be on? That's with, is Mike Tyson going to be there? What team is Iron Mike going to be on? No, I mean, to your point, I feel when I look at the stars of X Games today, Ayumu Hirano, Alex
Yeah.
Ferreira, Chloe Kim, Eileen Gu. The thought that comes to mind after I say those names isn't UFC. Like this is a very large culture shift that would be moving toward. And I mean, like, look, I mean, maybe Jeremy was speaking off the cuff, he's just kind of spitballing stuff. I am certain that in 2026 that UFC is not going to be a part of X Games, right? Like, I don't think that's where they're going. But
hopefully not. But also speaking off the cuff, you're the CEO now, buddy. You can't speak off the cuff like that. Like I don't know.
I got
personal
less
opinion,
excited.
but
I got less excited about Jeremy Bloom, the skier, I will admit, taking over as CEO when, if we're talking about UFC. So it's like, I mean, there's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me about this. You know what I mean? Like X Games upper management executives, Jeremy, like I'm sure they've got all kinds of data that, they know where, the cross currents of like viewership, but it's like X Games letting in UFC kind of like reminded me of us buying InfoWars. You know what I mean?
I thought about it too, and like what popped in my head was, and we just talked about all these energy drink sponsors, right? We're gonna bring UFC, and it's gonna be all protein based drinks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like it kind of makes sense, but does it make sense?
Yeah.
Are you sure it makes sense?
It doesn't make sense to me. And the thing that I would fear the most is that, like, for myself, for a lot of other athletes and people that are invested in the X Games, right? That still to me is like kind of like above the Olympics. Like I get the most excited about this event every year, and it's been this like gold standard. That is like our platform. It was our Olympics, and like to me it still kind of is. If you dilute that with a bunch of whatever you want to call it, jazz, or if all of a sudden we have like snow scootering going on in a jam or something, like it takes it away from me. It makes it less than, and it shouldn't be. It should always be up here. Like, it's such a piece of our sport that's up here.
But it's like I am fine with the idea of adding new sports, new ideas. Like for me, the most important thing, like more important than how I feel about X Games, like whatever, how I associate with it. I want X Games to be successful. Like if you can just make it successful, and that means adding UFC or something else, but you still maintain culture. But like if X Games becomes bigger than ever before, because of some of the stuff they're going to do, I am for it, right? Because like, let's be real, like we've lost a lot of events. Like X Games is really the only like independent event we've got. Other than that, it's pretty much just FIS events. And I mean, like I want independent events to grow, not just succeed, but grow. So I'm in. I'm just skeptical.
Yeah, I think you're incredibly right to be skeptical, especially with a quote like that out there. It makes me it makes me nervous for sure. And I don't want, like I said, I don't want to see it like drop down a peg at all. Those independent events are super important. This one being the most important in my opinion,
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Well, should we go back to the actual sports of the X Games, Pete?
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Well, because we could keep going, don't get us wrong. But maybe it's best that we don't. Yeah, maybe it's best that we don't. So that means we're going to do podium predictions for 2025 X Games Super Pipe. Pete, if you don't mind, I'm going to go first. Are you cool with that?
I'm all right with that, yep.
Men or ladies first?
Why don't you start with the men?
Okay, I'm down. So number one, it's going to come as no surprise, Alex Ferreira.
Wow.
Number two, I'm a believer because I chose Finley, Melville, Ives. Get it?
Wow.
Anyway, my third place is Brendan McKay because you know what? He has embarrassed me significantly on every event so far this year. So I can't not choose Brendan McKay. Not that I don't feel that he's a great skier. He is, but also I just don't want to be embarrassed anymore by not having him. And number four, my spoiler, This is, I legitimately feel like you could choose anyone on the list to be a spoiler, but I chose Birk Irving, and that is
Hmm.
because he just looked real hungry after Copper. I don't think he was at all happy with getting what, sixth? I don't know, seventh? Like he had a great
Sixth.
run.
Yeah.
And yes, I think he is upset that he got sixth. I don't blame him. So I think a motivated Birk Irving is a scary thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you. On your I don't agree with where you put Burke, but I think what you said about him is probably correct.
So can I defend FMI real quick? So
Yeah, that's where I was going to next. So please do.
so he skied that copper half pipe so well, and like it is not a good half pipe to ski well, and he doesn't have the the pedigree, he doesn't have the experience. I think he's X Games rookie, right? But just the way
I
that
believe
he
so.
skis half pipe, man, like if it comes together for him at X Games, it's gonna be a show. Like that is gonna be a run that kid is gonna have. So I don't know. Like, does he have enough upside to beat Alex? Maybe, but I think he has enough upside to beat pretty much everybody else. So, second place.
Second place. It's a heavy call out. I'll tell you, he's on my list. He's not in second place.
Okay.
So
All right. So
I
I'm not
do
crazy.
agree with you. No, I don't think you're a little crazy, but not super crazy. But I could see it too, right? You're coming off of like that first run of Copper was like amazing, and like, dude, 3-run final. There's a lot that can happen
There is
in
a
a
lot that can
3-run
happen.
final under the lights. So,
Facts.
yeah.
All right. So, ladies, again, number one, no surprise, Eileen. Number two, Zoe Atkin. Like, I don't know, Zoe's my girl. Number three is Cassie Sharpe. I feel like those three are pretty consistent. I don't feel like many people would argue with that. Four is really hard. Kind of like the dudes. I feel like probably any lady in that field can be a spoiler, but I chose Amy Ferreira, and that is because I mean she's got a lot of really tough tricks. She does a switch nine. She does both forward nines. I think she got a podium last year at X. But the point is, like, if she cleans up the run a little bit, she gets it together, she could land anywhere on that podium because she has got a ton of difficulty.
Okay.
Pete, did I mess up?
No, I think we're probably both gonna mess up somewhere on these lists, right?
All right. Well then, hit me with yours. Now you have me curious.
All
Who's
right.
first?
I'll start with the men too. Yep. I have Alex as well, like we talked about at the start here. He's on it. But my number two is the hungry man, Birk Irving.
Okay.
I put him way up there.
Okay. No, I like it.
Yep. And then my number three is Finley, Melville, Ives.
Okay.
Again, like I said, I agree with you, but I just don't know if he's going to have all of the oomph. He might have a lot of oomph going into it.
But you are also a believer.
Yeah, I am.
No, I mean, honestly, I thought you were going to think I was crazy by putting Finley in my top three. So I am happy, but a little surprised that he's also on your podium. But, I feel a little less cool, if we're going out on a limb here. But, yeah.
And that's kind of what I did, too. You look at this men's half-pipe field, and I said it before, too, but it's like mostly U.S. athletes, right? And I'm not discounting any of those athletes by any means. But I feel like when you're kind of like, you're the one-off, you're the new guy, you're also been skiing really well, at least skied really well at Copper.
Yeah.
I could see him like just going for broke. But if he lands that go for broke run, then I see that's where I see him in a shakeup scenario, Yeah. And maybe he doesn't land his first, maybe he lands his third, and it's that big third run shakeup. Like, who knows?
Crazier things.
I guess they have, and I guess that maybe that's just like secretly what I want too, is like that big shakeup, and so that's why he made it on third for me.
You know what? And I'll call this out. Well, before you give your spoiler, I'll call this out too, because you remember a comment from Sammy Schuling, like in episode 2 or something, and he was like, podium should have been Alex, Finley, Birk, and that is your podium for X Games. So,
Sammy, yeah.
Good call.
Nice.
Anyway, okay.
P.S. I didn't steal that from Sammy's comment. Okay, these are my own thoughts. uh, but my spoiler is Hunter Hess. I think also really hungry.
Yeah, excellent choice.
And oh my gosh, if he's not in the mix. But again, like we said, everybody on this list is in the mix.
Yeah.
Right? This is just a straight up final. And you could say that about any final. Like if you've made it there and you've made it here based on an invite, you're in the mix. 100%. So it's the spoiler honestly was like one of the hardest ones for me to choose.
Yeah, totally agree. And well, it's just funny because like I want to try to find an excuse to argue with you, right? I want to tell you that you're wrong, but it's just with these, with these X Games fields and whatever, like it's just everyone is competitive. And so it's really difficult for me to look at you and tell you that you're crazy. Especially Hunter Hess on up there. Like, yes, I hope that Hunter has a run like last year, a little better than last year, disrupts the podium, and it'd be dope because Hunter's got super rad runs.
Yep, I agree. Well, you said you didn't or couldn't disagree with me, but let me move on to my ladies podium.
Okay, so we don't have the same ladies podium, it sounds like. Okay.
We do not, and we'll see if this changes here.
I'm interested.
So I'm going to, I guess I'll start at the top, but I have Zoe over Eileen.
All right. I thought for sure the person to choose Zoe over Eileen was going to be me.
I thought so too.
You just okay. Tell me how Zoe's going to beat Eileen. And I'm not saying that Zoe can't beat Eileen. I 1000% think Zoe can beat Eileen. But go. I have my own thoughts. Go.
Okay. Well, in second place for me is Eileen, right?
Okay. Makes sense.
So we'll start there. But I guess where I'm going at with this is Eileen is in all three events. She's in slope, big air, and half pipe, right?
Yep.
And we know the schedule at X Games, like that's a lot. 3 events in any one weekend is a ton.
Yeah.
So I'm putting Zoe there based off of Copper performance and the fact that she's in one event.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's focusing on just one event, just those trainings. There's no other getting beat up. There's no other catching on a rail, taking a slam, whatever it may be. That being said, I could be wildly wrong if Eileen chooses to focus very, very heavily on half pipe and, kind of competes in the other ones, or maybe she doesn't do big air and she does slope and ends up in 2 events. We've seen that in the past too, where she's been for all 3. And it was like, I think big air is usually the first one that's like, nah, I'm not doing that one. So if she does do all 3 and Zoe is skiing really well, that's the scenario in my brain, right?
So
where Zoe ends up on top.
I'll be honestly, the biggest reason why I think Zoe wouldn't end up on top has nothing to do with skiing or performance. I think it would have to do with judges. Because, like, for me, I love Zoe's run. Like, I think if Eileen does her whole run with her switch 7, like both alley flats, like, it's a sick run. But, like,
agreed.
Zoe to me has, doing both switch 7s, maybe she upgrades one to a switch 9. I mean, it's a really cool run. Like, the way everything is put together, like big 5 up top. It's a really cool run, and that is something that I really appreciate. And how she uses switch, I think, is really cool. But I don't think judges appreciate that enough. And I think judges are going to default to giving it to the hot skier, who's obviously Eileen, but I don't agree with that. So I absolutely think that Zoe can win and maybe should win, if things go right. I just question if the judges will put her on top.
Yeah, I think that that's valid. We've seen it a couple times before, and not necessarily in the women's halfpipe event. Mostly for big air and slopestyle a little bit too, where we have this like little shift in judging, right? Where they're like looking very, very closely at how technical these combos were.
Yeah.
Right. And that in the past, not a lot, but sometimes has like outweighed whatever sort of stardom, you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. I think for big air, especially too, like that's one where you're kind of like getting a pulse on like, are we are we chucking it, or are we like, oh, this is the big dog and they're getting rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
Or are we like taking a deeper look? I mean, it obviously depends on the judging panel, head judge, whatever else is going on, but I don't know. It could happen this year where they take a look and they're like, actually, Zoe's combos, like that's very, very technical.
Yep.
So we'll see, and
see.
we'll have to recap this after the event too.
I imagine that we would. You haven't even finished your podium yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Right.
we got
maybe we should do that, and then we can continue talking.
Fair enough. Third place, Cassie Sharpe, and my spoiler for the event is going to be Svea, who's skiing really well right now, and big and smooth. And I mean, if she puts it down with solid amplitude, I could see her being up there too.
1,000%. I think I had Svea as my spoiler up until about an hour ago, and I switched to Amy Frazier. And it's like, I could be any of them, but yeah, I just had a small change of heart, and I put in Amy over Svea, but I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna save this list so we can recap, obviously, right? Yeah.
Something tells me it may not be 100% correct. Well, anything else you want to discuss before we move on to YouTube comments?
No, let's do YouTube comments.
All right, let's do YouTube comments. So we got a comment from someone named Mike Riddle, and he says, "Hi, Pete and Andy. I'm your #1 fan. Mike here. Not surprised. Love the show. Keep it up. Just a quick fact check here, because Amy Frazier actually won Mammoth Grand Prix last year over Eileen, so I'm not sure how many she has in a row. I don't think I knew that. So
yeah, that might have slipped me too. And I think I was going off of like those stats that we were saying. I think that was like from the announcer of the event.
Yeah, like
right?
I will admit, I definitely not comb through the FIS website to count up results. There's no chance that happened. But yeah, so okay, well that's interesting. So she has nowhere near the amount of golds in a row that we thought that she did.
Yeah. Boy, if we could pay somebody to be a full-time tabulator,
that'd be great.
And go on to the FIS website and just spend their entire life doing that.
That's true. You know what would be even better though? If we didn't pay someone to do that and they just did it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great too. If anybody out there loves Excel and staring at one really, really inept website, let us know.
Most antiquated website ever. I'll tell you, Pete, Mike Riddle, I used to like Mike Riddle. You know what I mean? I used to think he was a nice guy, and he stole my job. So.
That's right. I actually,
we're not.
I hung out with him. I hung out with him this spring, and I think he's a great guy, even though he stole your job. So.
No, Riddle actually is a great guy. He's like maybe one of my favorite people on the planet. But yeah, still a little mad at you, Riddle. No, I'm not. All right, so Pete, what do we have next week?
Yeah, next week we're gonna do a slopestyle preview, which should be pretty exciting. And I believe it's tomorrow morning at like 2 a.m. Mountain Time. I don't know what that is East Coast time because I don't live there. Qualifications and finals for the Locks Open, which should be really sweet. And then I know the finals at least are a live stream on Red Bull TV, which is awesome. And we were talking a little bit about X and kind of where they are, and like this is just what a great event. It is an open event, right? They already had like the initial qualification and a big open field, and they're down to semis and finals, and it's going to be on Red Bull TV, and anybody can tune in and watch it in any country. This is good stuff. And also the course, oh my gosh, it's creative, it's insane. There's shark fins, they like kind of have it all. I also like that Locks does like this rail right at the end, because it's just like not a normal course.
Totally agree.
And I like it. It's like you got a couple rails and you ramp up, and then it's like, oh man, you have this one at the end. To me, you get that picture of like It's a mental game at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't
Whose
just
legs are
land your
still on
last.
it? Yeah. Whose brain is still on it? I agree.
Yeah, you land your last jump and you're not done. Like you still got to prove it right after your jump. So I'm very, very excited for it. And there's a bunch of big dogs that have made it into semis. We'll see who gets into finals.
Yep, I think it will be an excellent, well, outside of this preview, an excellent preview for X Games Slope.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm pretty
For
hyped
sure,
to check
for
it
sure.
out, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. We're up to 39 subscribers now.
Oh,
which
are
is sweet.
we?
Yeah. But that means we're also 11 away.
Yeah.
Being able to live stream at X Games, which again we like really want to do. So if anybody is watching, make some more email accounts.
Yeah, we actually didn't, like complain about that as much. Like maybe we're feeling more confident that we're gonna hit that 50 mark. I don't know. Like, yeah, we actually have been getting some subscribers. Like, it's wild. I don't know if I would subscribe to us, but other people apparently think so. I mean, Mike Riddle's number one fan, so we know something.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I don't care if they're real subscribers or not, but I want to live stream for the X Games. So just get us there. You know, it's weird if we do it, but if other people do it, like that's totally fine.
Yeah, we have no shame. However we get there is fine. But we would prefer to not make 10 Gmail YouTube accounts and get ourselves there. It'd be cooler if you guys did it.
Yeah, somebody else. Somebody else. Sweet. That's all I have. But I'm really looking forward to the next one. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, a couple days. All right, Pete.
Good stuff. I'm gonna see if I can get these balloons to go again. I think look at that.
See, I can't do that. I don't know how you're able to get the balloons go. Like, we don't know how any of this works, but
I really don't. It's magic settings that I know nothing about.
It's like, as you logged in, like you accidentally clicked the balloon thing. And it's weird. It's like the